You're welcome along to this evening's football show. Later on, we'll be checking in with Nathan Murphy, a few stories of the day to discuss. But in the meantime, very happy to say that Aiden O'Brien has made some time for us. Republic of Ireland international, has played nearly 200 times for Millwall as well, and joins us from London. Evening, Aiden. How you doing?
How are you? You okay?
Yeah, great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for making time. What are you up to these days?
Literally just working hard, obviously trying to stay fit during this pandemic and just making sure we're staying fit, waiting for the season to get back on track.
Is that largely just entail getting out for a run?
Yeah, obviously Millwall's put a schedule in place. They've all got plans and everything. They've got everything set up, and we've been following it, and it's been really good for our team and helping us progress on fitness and keeping us up to track.
How far off match fitness would you be if you had to go back at it in a week?
I would like to say we're fit. We're very fit. We've been training every day. We've been doing stuff on Zoom, on a FaceTime sort of app, kind of doing a lot of strength work, a lot of running. So I would say that we're ready to go back, and we'll be able to. We're probably as fit as we ever have been. Yeah.
And how's the mental side of things? Because even I saw FIFA Pro had a survey yesterday, and they said even the numbers of footballers in England, Scotland, and over here reporting symptoms of depression effectively had doubled, which wasn't surprising. You know, footballers are humans, and a lot of them, especially when you take away the very top tier earning the absolutely enormous money, a lot of them have all the same concerns long-term financially that anybody else might have.
Yeah, of course, but as I always go back to saying, you know, health is the most important thing in life, and obviously we all play football, we love the game, and we play it for a living, but health is everything that's going on at the moment. Is you've got to make sure that everyone's health and lives are as safe first, and before we can even think about football and stuff. So I would always go back to say that make sure everyone follows the steps, and as soon as everyone does that, and everyone does that quicker, we can get back out there and start doing what we do and earning our money and doing everything we enjoy doing.
How have you been? Has it been frustrating? Has it been worrying? Has it been okay?
See, me personally, luckily I'm living with my girlfriend's family at the time, so I've got a company every day. I've got people around me. We're following the rules together. We're doing things together. So for me personally, it's okay, and I'm managing fine. But I can imagine people on their own out there and stuff like that. It'll be quite hard mentally and stuff like that. So for me personally, all good.
As for things on the field, even this season, I think Millwall are 8th in the championship table, so, you know, kind of flirting hopefully with playoff places and making a bit of a push as the season draws to a close. How has the season been for you? I was reading you haven't started as many games as you might have hoped for.
No, that's correct. I've not. It's been a weird one really, because every season up to now, really, I've been playing most games, if not every game. Under the managers, Neil Harris, that is. And it's just become a little bit of a phase now where I've just kind of not been involved recently. Whatever that's due to, I'm just making sure that whenever I'm called upon, whenever I'm needed or from the bench, I'm ready. And I'm showing the manager that I'm eager and ready to play wherever it may be. And
was it that a new signing arrived, or is it just one of those things where you fall in and out of favour, or how would you put your finger on it?
You know, managers chop and change, things change, you know, like certain styles of play change. Sometimes they might not suit you, the way you play and stuff like that. And you just got to kind of get on with it. You can't doubt yourself. You can't beat yourself up about it. You just got to make sure you keep doing what you're doing, because you know, with everything you've done in your career so far, you know that you're a good player, and you need to just keep doing what you're doing and just make sure you show the manager and staff at the time that you're eager to get out there.
And so was it a change of style ultimately that affected your place?
Not necessarily, no. It was more like just maybe he preferred someone else, or they preferred someone else where in my position, and that's basically it, really. It's not down to anything in them not disliking me or disliking me as a player or anything like that. It's probably just down to personnel. Different games, different matches need different players. There's loads of reasons why you can find yourself left out of a team, you know, and you just can't beat yourself up about it and throw your toys out of the pram. You just got to stick together. It's a team game, and be ready for when you're called upon.
And have you got many minutes off the bench, Aiden?
Yes, I have. I've had a few minutes off the bench this season. Notched a few goals off the bench this season. Not as much as I would like this season, but you know that will come with game time. But I have got probably around 20 odd games under my belt this season, which ain't too bad from the bench. But obviously, I would like to have more. And that, going back to that, is that's obviously affected my international career due to the lack of minutes. Obviously, the staff at the time they can't pick someone that ain't playing, which is understandable. So I just want to get back out there and start playing, and then getting back to what I do best, and that's scoring goals. Because
football, sport, I suppose life really, it's about momentum.
Agreed. It's like anything, you know. For instance, a striker can go 10 games without scoring a goal. He scores his first goal in the 10th game. He'll go on and score 6 goals after that, one after the other. You know, it's all about momentum and kind of building that kind of platform for you to kind of build from.
You joined Millwall when you were 17 years of age. I think you made your debut 4 years later. And I was talking to Stephen Hunt, who was doing a commentary game with us in one of the games that you were playing in for Ireland. And he was just mentioning that I think he'd been on trial at the time at Millwall, or had been involved in Millwall briefly and kind of come across you. And he wasn't, you know, he felt you'd really have to work incredibly hard to make it. And he didn't mean that in a disrespectful way. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was making the point that it was a credit to how hard you must have worked that you had managed to turn yourself into a first-team player for Millwall and to have this professional football career, which, as we know, is such an impossible thing to do. So when you joined Millwall at 17, those 4 years until you made your debut, were you always kind of, you know, kicking against the tide a little bit in terms of making it? Did you have to work incredibly hard? Were you close to not making it? Give us a sense of how you managed to come through those years.
Well, luckily at Millwall, to be honest, at the age of 17, it was Kenny Jackett who gave me my first professional contract at the age of 17, which was a big achievement at the time, because most people get theirs at 18 when they finish their scholarship. So I got mine a year early, which was good. Kenny Jackett then started taking me on trips and taking me away games and putting me in the stands, getting used to it. And then he ended up playing me in a FA Cup game, which we lost 5-0, unfortunately. But I come off the bench and he just showed a bit of faith in me. And then from then, I just started kind of being around the first team ever since, training every day with them, getting better and better. And then Ian Holloway came in and gave my first ever start on my 21st birthday away at Derby. So it was Ian Holloway who gave me my first start on my birthday away at Derby. And from 21 years old, I haven't looked back, really.
And what did you have to work on in those years under Kenny Jackett, under Holloway? What kind of player were you? What were they asking you to do?
So to describe me as a player and describe what I had to work on to get to where I am a forward, a striker who loves to score goals. And that is exactly what Kenny Jackett, Joe Gallen at the time, my mentors from the under-16s and stuff growing up, they always used to kind of work on my finishing because they knew that I was kind of a natural-born finisher, and they kind of see something in me that, you know, maybe others didn't, and they kind of try to pull that out of me as much as they can. And from the age of 15, when the time I joined, it was literally extra finishing sessions every day after training to the age of 26 now, you know. You don't ever stop. So that was probably the main thing I worked on, was my finishing. And that kind of got me noticed and got me to where I am.
Wayne Rooney had a brilliant article in the Sunday Times at the weekend where he was talking about finishing, and he was saying that the hardest thing to teach people is composure, you know. And he was talking about Danny Welbeck, and he had to pull Danny Welbeck aside at one stage and say, Danny, every time you go through on goal, even if you score, even regardless of whether you score or you miss, as you hit the shot, you're always falling over. You know, you always end up on your backside, and you need to use that very last stride, whether you're shortening your stride or extending your stride to meet the ball properly. You need to find almost a heartbeat of composure in the midst of it. Find a split second to compose yourself. That was a really interesting insight into Rooney's thinking. You as a finisher must almost have had to come to terms with those moments where you're about to strike the ball and to find that composure. Is that something you've always done? Is that something you work on, you get better at? Am I making any sense in terms of what I'm talking about, that split second?
Yeah. No, you make perfect sense. Basically, the best I can describe it as a striker is me personally, my game is worked off instincts. And I'm kind of an instinct kind of striker that kind of reads situations probably a little bit before the defender to kind of enable me to get across my man, or to kind of make sure that I'm there before he can get the ball. And it's more kind of instincts, you know, and kind of making sure you just get good contact on the ball, as you said, taking that composure, taking that time to make sure you get the contact. It's not necessarily the power you need on the ball. It's just the contact, because sometimes the cross has the power on it already. So you don't need to generate power onto the ball. You just take the power off, but just direct it into a corner you want. And that's where I've kind of learned, whether in my time, you know, to not always look for power. It's just take the weight off the ball, contact, and direct it into somewhere you want to go.
I can imagine how, if you're in a position where you're in now and you're fighting for your place and your minutes are limited, that composure might be a little bit trickier to find, as opposed to if you're in the team every week and you're confident and you know you're going to be playing next week. There's just that extra little tiny element of pressure on you, and you might try and force things when you're coming off the bench and you know you might have 8 minutes this week.
Yeah. There's always a little bit of that, but you know, me personally, always try to tell myself every day, before every training session, before every game, is what got me here in the first place. You know, I might not be in favour at the moment in Millwall or wherever and stuff like that, but you know, I've got a good record. I've got a good scoring record. That will never change, because I know where the back of the net is, and I'm just always telling myself that, you know, when you get a chance, Aiden, you know you're going to score it. So whether you're on for 1 minute, for 2 minutes, for 30 seconds, when that chance arises, make sure you put it in the back of the net and do what you do. And I always keep that in my mind when I'm going to warm up, when I'm on the bench, when I'm starting. It's always in the back of my mind that when I get one chance, make sure you put it in the back of the net. And most of the time, thank God I do. But that's what I said. I go back to always work on it, and most of the time it comes off.
It's a really good mindset to have. Have you always had that, or did someone give you that kind of advice?
It was my old man, to be fair, my dad. When I was young, he always used to say, like, right, Aiden, when I played for his team in North London, he would say, oh, Aiden, you scored 2 goals today, but you missed that chance at the end. You should have had a hat-trick. But he would never praise me on the 2. But he'd always say, Aiden, you should have scored the 3rd. Do you know what I mean? He would never go, Aiden, well done on the good 2 goals, and then leave the 3rd. He would always say, look, that 3rd one that come up in the last minute, you needed to put that away. Why didn't you put that away? And that's what kind of got in my mindset, that every single chance that comes my way, I'm not going to take lightly. I'm going to make sure it hits the back of the net, and that's the mind frame that my dad gave me.
I'm not so sure about playing for my dad, I have to say. Dad's being manager is not always fun.
No, it wasn't, because I always got a bit of stick when I got home.
What ages were you when he was managing you?
He started me from the age of 8, just kicking a ball against the wall every day, doing kick-ups, to the age of 15, and that was it. And wow. From 15, I joined Millwall.
Wow. So he's kind of the architect of the whole thing.
Massively, yeah.
I was reading a couple of interviews you did over the last few years. There was a great one with David Sneyd in the Mail on Sunday over here, and one in the Sunday Times last year as well. You're from kind of Islington, which I'd always from afar thought was pretty well-to-do, posh, yeah, wealthy, nice part of London. But obviously there are pockets which aren't so nice. You were certainly from one of the pockets which weren't so nice. It sounded like an incredibly difficult upbringing, because you're talking to the fellas about, you know, the 2 journalists, you're talking to them about things like even an epidemic, really, it seems, of knife crime for a start.
Yeah, one thing I will say is there's definitely a lot of pockets in Islington that are not well off, and I know, as you say, people say that Islington's well off and stuff, but there's a lot of estates, there's a lot of deprived areas and stuff that hasn't really got that kind of income to kind of help them in life. And I was brought up in one of them, and obviously I'd done an interview with David Sneyd, which was a brilliant interview, brilliant piece. So I thank him for that. But yeah, it was very hard. the best way I can explain it without going into too much detail and too much taking too much time is that it's a big estate, one bigger community, like a family, and you get up to mischief, but you do it together. Everyone's together. You play football together. You get up to mischief. You do other things. Everything's together, and sometimes you take the wrong path. Sometimes you don't. And luckily, I took the right path, and it led me to football.
This was the Harvest Estate, is that right?
That was where I was brought up, yeah.
Yeah.
North London, Holloway Road.
Yeah, so these are like 4 19-story apartment blocks.
Yeah, and a few little kind of other little blocks as well, but they're the main story blocks, yeah.
I was reading in that Sunday Times piece, a third of children in the area and 40% of elderly are below the poverty line. So it has its struggles, social struggles. I can imagine it feels all the more frustrating and obvious when you're next to the posher parts of Islington. I think Islington, I was reading today, is one of the absolutely highest rates of inequality between the top level and the bottom level.
Yeah, obviously at the time, well, listen, me and my mates and my family, we're not money driven. We're not brought up that way. We don't think that money changes anything. It's nice, but we're not brought up that way. We don't go around looking at other people, what they've got, and we've never been brought up that way, and my mates have never been brought up that way either. We just know that at the time we didn't have a lot of help funding from our families to help us get to where we want to do, to our dreams really, and we had to just work it ourselves and make do, and it kind of gave us that hunger, to kind of go out there and kind of chase for something that we haven't got. And that's what a lot of deprived and people that you're saying that in the area, they've got a lot of hunger and stuff to give to their ambitions, which is a huge plus for people like me and for people in the estate.
And for you, I don't know what you were like at school. Did you feel like football was your best option in life, almost your only option in life? Was it that extreme?
Literally that. Honestly, I couldn't think of myself doing anything else. I was in school. A little story. My dad basically said, "Look, why aren't you doing your grades? Your teacher's telling me you're not doing your grades. You're messing around." And apparently, when I was like 11 years old, I turned around to my dad and say, "Dad, listen, relax. I'm going to be a footballer." And he tells me that story to this day. So that's how much I believed and I fought and I put into being a footballer.
Give us a sense of even the gang culture. It's not something we have over here to the same extent by any means, but I saw in the piece with David where you were talking about how it can be utterly unprovoked. So, if you walk around the wrong corner at the wrong time and see the wrong people from the neighbouring estate, then you can potentially be in a lot of trouble.
Literally that. Obviously, it's probably changed a little bit now. It seems like it's died down a lot. But when I was probably around, 13, the teens really, 13s to the 18s, it was literally that. You couldn't really walk out of your estate probably around 100 meters away because there was another estate across the road that someone from your estate has got a problem with. So that makes you involved. And if they see you, they'll get to you through him. And do you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of it weren't like I've got a problem with you, so I'm going to take it up with you. If I see your mate, I'm gonna take the problem up with him as well. Like that's why an estate, everyone was together, and then other estates were the same, and it was just postcode wars. It was called, and it was really childish, and a lot of people are probably listening thinking it's childish, but at the time you don't think of that. You just think you're with your family and your friends, just having a laugh and stuff, and obviously at the time you don't think it's right. You don't think it's wrong, but it is.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And does getting roughed up, can that include getting stabbed?
Yeah, stabbings and shootings and stuff like that was around almost every month, every week. That was the norm.
So you might know someone every month who'd been stabbed potentially on a bad year.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. There was always like, oh, so and so's been this, so and so's done that, and you're like, well, do you know what I mean? Like, not again, but that was the kind of environment that we was in, and we couldn't really take ourselves out of that because we grew up in an estate, and once you grew up in an estate, if as people would know in estates, rough estates, you're kind of already just built into it, you're kind of just grown into it, and that was that. And you just got to kind of adapt and try and, as I said, work to get out of it.
So what happens? Like, I can imagine the peer pressure then. What happens if a good mate of yours gets roughed up or worse? There must be the automatic response of, well, let's go and retaliate. Let's go and get one of them back. And then it's like, well, you know, Aiden, you got to come with us. Come on.
Well, this is where I was lucky because my dad lived in an estate and he was kind of well looked up to by all the people, all the people I hanged around with, and even the older lot as well. So anything that was going on, they would respect my dad and be like, look, for instance, what you just said, if one of the mates got roughed up or whatever, stabbed, shot, whatever, you would want to retaliate. Of course, it's your mate. But the boys that would be going to retaliate would say to me, Aiden, you're staying here.
Right.
Go and play football. Go and do what you're doing with your dad or with one of these mates, because we're going to sort this out. You've got a career to focus on. So they kind of took what my dad was doing with me and respected that and see that I was good at football, along with a few other people in the estate as well, and let us kind of a little bit stay away from it a little bit.
Wow. There's something perversely very nice about that as well, you know. I mean, besides the bigger context, because I'm sure as a 13, 14, 15-year-old, if they hadn't given you that option and you were put under peer pressure, I mean, like any 13, 14, 15-year-old, you're going to fall in with your mates and do what they're doing, and then potentially end up in prison or worse.
Well, that's what it is. It comes down to looking up to your peers, and sometimes the peers that you're looking up to ain't always doing the correct things in life. And at the time, you're living in a state, you're seeing your peers, you're being with them every day, you're having jokes, laughs with them. You don't know what's right and what's wrong. You just think, you know, they're going to that estate to go and have a little, to go and rough someone up. Yeah, I'll come with you. That's fine. What else am I going to do? Do you know what I mean? I'm living in an estate, and that's how you get sucked in, and that's how you get dragged into it. And as soon as you associate yourself with that kind of gang or that kind of estate or that kind of group, then from that day on, you're in it. You can't get out until, obviously, either something happens to you, something bad happens to you, or you simply move to a different area, so they can't get hold of you.
So you've lost friends, I presume, have you?
No, because with me, everyone knew me as the football player, the person that loves to play football. I wasn't necessarily the one going around roughing people up. It was people around me and stuff like that. So it was more like I was playing football every day with my mates, along with the others as well, along with everyone else. We all loved football in the community. But when it got down to nitty gritty stuff and stuff like that, I was never involved. I never done anything like that. Or obviously I've seen a few things, but that was not down to me doing anything or, you know, doing anything. They allowed me to kind of step back and not get involved with that.
Yeah. And in the midst of all this, like, anything can almost be normalised, I suppose, and especially at that age, you just kind of think, well, it's just the way of the world to some degree or other. But obviously, it's not. It's kind of terrible environment to grow up in many ways. Do you remember being afraid? Do you remember thinking this is awful? Did you have this burning wish to get the hell away from all this?
Yeah, there's so many stories I could probably say off camera, but like it's not ideal to probably say. But listen, you go through a lot growing up in an estate such as that one. Well, there's loads of others in the world, and I can imagine a lot of people are probably going through the same thing. What I will say is, you kind of at the time don't feel like it's the wrong thing. It's like you're not exactly making choices for yourself. You're just going with it, and that's what it all boils down to. Until you get to an age where you're probably around 18, and you can go, you know what am I doing here? Or you can go, I'm going to choose this same path. I like this path. It's exciting. Or you can go, you know what, I'm going to go do something with myself. Or you know, but until you get to that older age, you don't really know different, and that's where the problem lies.
Yeah. Do you keep in touch with your old mates?
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, I'm always, you know, after training once a week, I always drive down to the estate, say hello, have a drink, have a drink with them, like just chill and just catch up really, and
Mm.
just talk about old times' sakes and just have a laugh and just do everything friends do. We're all still friends. They're all working and doing what they're doing now, and it's all just a blur now. You know,
Mm.
it's like we look back at it and go, oh, what was we doing? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
what was we doing then? Like, why did we do that? Why? And it's like we all laugh about it now, but they're in serious. We're lucky to be able to laugh about it, because some other cases and some other people were either dead, in prison, um, life sentences and stuff, that can't laugh about stuff like that. So we're lucky to be able to laugh about that, and we know we were doing wrong, and that's the main thing.
Do you feel a pressure in football? I know you said you're not money orientated, but do you feel a
No.
pressure to make money, to move your family away from the estate, to provide? What's your attitude to all that?
Well, that's from the age of probably 10 years old. That's been my hunger. That's been my drive to get me through everything in life. Um, without football, without that kind of drive, without that kind of ambition, of kind of helping my family to get to somewhere that we've never seen before. It was, for me, I was the only person that was going to be able to do something about it,
Mm.
and I put all my eggs into one basket to make sure that I made something of myself out of a bad situation. And thank God I did. And now I'm, for the past however many years, I've been helping my family, doing things that I've been praying that I could do, and it just feels so good. And long may it continue.
Mm. Are your family still in the estate, or I think your mum's moved on anyway.
Yeah, my mum's gone round near Highbury now. It's actually a nice little area, Highbury. She's got a nice little road. Yeah, she's listen. She gets helped a lot. Her son's helping her out and making sure she's okay with whatever she needs. Same with my sister. She's got a kid and her boyfriend now, so I'm help her. And obviously my dad's moved out, and I help him out as well. And they're all got their own little spots now, and they're all happy and away from all that kind of stuff, and which is good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Incredible to kind of come through it that way and have that attitude to it all. I guess it
Yeah.
puts, being out of the Millwall team for a couple of weeks into perspective.
Exactly. You don't. This is what I'm saying. You don't throw your toys out of the pram, because got to look at the bigger picture in life and what people are going through. There's far much worse things that's going on in their lives. And for me, not playing a few games, listen, it's not the end of the world. I want to get out there. I want to play, but I will soon enough be back out playing football and doing what I love, and that's what keeps me going as well.
I guess the ultimate ambition, dream world or not, is Premier League. Is that a level you feel you can play at? Is that still very much the plan?
Well, I've got to get a game in the Championship first. But other than that, listen, as I said, I've made it out from all the odds, people telling me I couldn't make it, to making it and playing for my country, which is unbelievable. So why can't I take it to the next step and play in the Premier League? There's no stopping me.
Mm. And did it feel like there was an Irish influence in the household, or is playing for the Republic something which has kind of come along in adulthood and you're very grateful for, or what's been your relationship with Ireland?
Well, my nan and granddad are fully Irish. They were born in Ireland. My nan was Dublin. My granddad was Carrickashaw, which was obviously Carrickashaw, yeah. And my mum's fully Irish. She had 10 brothers and sisters. They're all Irish, so pretty much
Just the 10.
Just the 10, yeah. So it was basically a madhouse, and yeah, we just took on the culture of the Irish because my nan and granddad was, and I was around there every day, and it was just a part of my family's culture.
How have you found playing for the setup? Obviously, you scored on your debut, which is kind of a cool thing.
Cool is definitely an understatement, but it was probably the most surreal moment in my life. Just imagine dreaming about something for all your life, and then it happens I can't really explain much more about it. It's just the most surreal moment that any kid can grow up and do in their life.
It was the header against Poland, isn't that the one?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And did any of your family able to make it out to the game or watching on a TV somewhere?
They didn't actually make it out to the game, no, but they did end up watching it on the TV. Or, my mum's not really good with all the technology stuff, so I've had to send her highlights and stuff like that to kind of show her the goal. Bless her.
Very good. Well, listen, hopefully we see you back in a green shirt soon. I mean, who knows with the way of the world at the moment when we get back to normal. Have you guys been given any indication or word on the QT about when you might think championship stuff might get back underway? It's very hard to know. Plans are changing every couple of days at the moment.
Yeah, we got told, I think it was the other day, probably the 16th of May, we'll be allowed back into training. Whether that will get amended, whether that will get pushed back, as you said, who knows? It's anyone's shout. I don't have a clue what the situation is going on with the government and stuff, and whether they're going to push it back another 3 weeks. So, but all I know is we've been told May the 16th, and we're planning on that.
Okay. Well, listen, Aiden O'Brien, great to have you on the show. Much appreciated. Stay safe, and hopefully we do see you back sooner rather than later. Thanks a million.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, welcome back. So, Nathan Murphy is standing by. Hello.
Evening.
Not in his Trinidad and Tobago jersey, I notice.
Not tonight. Not tonight. Only on special occasions.
You have a fancy new background. Discuss.
I just, my regular spot for broadcasting from home in front of the television, I found with the longer evenings, the sun is shining right in, which is making it difficult. So I've moved to the office, as I like to call it, which is one tiny little part of a sitting room. And I stole this from the office to
I see you
give it some credibility.
Yeah, well, a tactics board there. You've gone with the classic 1-1-2 there.
Well, I was just explaining to the kids earlier for our match as to, when the good times return and they go out and play in the green in front of our house with their friends again, what we're going to be trying to implement. This guy here has a big role. He's got to be the link up and down. He's the energy.
He's box to box.
This is me up here.
Naturally.
Yeah, no great movement. Everyone else can move around. So, yeah, I don't know where the rest of them went. I don't know where the other 11 went. Did you steal them?
Are you defending or are you just hatching?
No, I'm hatching.
Again, it makes a lot of sense to me.
You understand?
Yeah. No, I didn't steal them all. I have I think I have 30 of them for 2.15 aside ones, but I don't know where they're gone.
Oof.
So, well, there's a few bits going on. The situation at Arsenal is having the potential to turn slightly on Mesut Ozil. Maybe just explain what's going on here. We might tease out where Ozil is coming from on this.
Yeah, may have the potential to turn on Mesut Ozil, and that may be exactly what Arsenal want, it seems. So Arsenal last night became the first club to announce that they had agreed with their first team players for them to take a pay cut. I actually thought in a way that maybe this was going to die down after the players all came together and all the captains had that release about 2 weeks ago that they were going to make a big donation, a voluntary donation to the NHS and to the frontline workers. But it seems the clubs still want to implement their own pay cuts on top of that. So with the Arsenal first team players and all of the coaching staff agreed to take pay cuts of up to 12.5% over the next year. It seems Mikel Arteta intervened in the last few days, got the players, well, not sitting around a table, but on a call, and that they've all agreed to this, all except, it seems, 5 players. We don't know the names of all 5 players, but somehow Mesut Ozil's name has been leaked out. So Arsenal's wage bill is about 230 million. They reckon this should save them around about 25 million. What the Arsenal players have done is basically negotiated ways of getting the money back. Now, some of this seems quite far-fetched, such as them winning the Champions League next season, when it's highly unlikely they're even going to be in the Champions League. Also, possibility they can get some money back if they win the Europa League next season, but £500,000 per player if they were to win the Champions League next season. It also seems there's some other parts of these contracts whereby if players are sold in the transfer window for a profit from what they're originally bought for, that their payment loss will be reinstated. But the majority of players have agreed to this. Obviously, Arsenal felt that it was pretty much a done deal considering they could announce it. But within, I would say, following this online last night, within 10 minutes of it being announced, it was leaked out that Mesut Ozil was one of the players who hadn't agreed. Now, remember, Mesut Ozil is not just Arsenal's highest paid player. He's right up there among the highest paid players in the Premier League, £350,000 a week. And much like Paul Pogba, probably has a reputation and is not held in the highest regard by a lot of Arsenal fans and a lot of football fans, probably because of his wage, probably because of his style of football, and it really is his heart in it. So the question is, well, is he doing the right thing? Because his agent was out and has been out, I think, over the last couple of weeks saying that this isn't simply a case of taking a pay cut, that Arsenal as a football club, if the season is finished and if all the Sky money comes, while they will take a bit of a hit in terms of matchday revenue and some sponsorship revenue, that the club could well end up still turning a very tidy profit this year. So therefore, why should the players be taking a pay cut?
Yes, and it has very quickly become about Mesut Ozil. Piers Morgan leading the fight this morning and attacking Ozil in a very Piers Morgan way. I saw, I didn't actually watch the piece, but certainly the headlines from the Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher discussion on Sky Sports this morning didn't look good for Ozil. Words like indefensible were being used, and so you add this in with, well, Ozil's general demeanour and sense of entitlement on a pitch and a lack of throwing in with his teammates on the pitch, and it's easy to concoct this into a way that makes Ozil look incredibly selfish. It was interesting though to read on ESPN in the last while this afternoon that Ozil is apparently, and I use the word apparently very deliberately, I don't know what's going on here, but apparently willing to take a bigger pay reduction than his teammates. What he wants is the club to give him greater assurances about how the money will be used, which I think is entirely fair. Like, Arsenal are not going to go bankrupt. Whatever they're losing at the moment, they can borrow against TV revenues, which will be incoming down the line. They're going to be fine. So apparently he has refused the pay cut, as you say. He is their highest earner, but his agent was making the point that Ozil already gives about $3 million a year to charities across the world. It's not like he's swimming in money every morning and counting what's in his various bank accounts. And the point has been made that he feels there's a lack of communication from the club about the request, and he wants to know, well, what are you using the money for? Are you using the money to buy new players in the transfer window? In which case, well, I don't really think I should be taking a pay cut. Now, I suspect that all of that is going to be lost in the fire to burn Mesut Ozil.
But it's clearly a very complicated situation, because what he's asking for there is that, like, are they going to use this money to save the jobs of hundreds of staff on far lower wages? In which case, I don't think any professional footballer can have any major issue with that. But if they're going to go and spend money in the transfer market, is that a problem? But if they go and spend money in the transfer market, the reasoning for that is to get back into the Champions League, to contend for Premier League titles, so the club can earn more money over the next 2 or 3 years. So are we going to have a situation where players are trying to agree deals with their clubs where they don't buy and sell this summer, and that there's no real use of the transfer market? That is good thinking on the players' behalf, because everything you hear is that the transfer market is going to absolutely collapse, and that players who are looking to move and sign new contracts aren't going to be getting themselves a very good deal. So staying exactly where you are on the current contract is probably going to be quite beneficial. But it all seems like it's a PR battle, all of this. Like, if you go back to Matt Hancock trying to hang the Premier League footballers out to dry, a lot was made at the time that actually cutting Premier League players' wages, if it wasn't going to save jobs within that club, didn't make a lot of sense, considering the amount of tax that players pay on those wages, and them taking a 12.5% pay cut. Off the top of my head, is what, 50,000 a week from Mesut Ozil. If he's paying 25 grand of that a week in tax, it's 100,000 a month, $1 million a year in tax that he's no longer going to be paying. Is that the best thing for the economy?
Yeah, I think these questions are being asked more and more, and they're very fair ones. It doesn't help when all his teammates, bar the other four, have said, we'll happily give up the pay cut. It doesn't look great, but I think he deserves to be heard out a little bit. And Ozil is such a target for this. I mean, he's just like, if there is in the politicking going on at Arsenal, a sense of, well, who is somebody that we can really make look bad here? It is Mesut Ozil very easily in this instance. It just tallies with all the worst characteristics people feel he has.
It does, but all the rest of his teammates, by and large, have agreed to this.
Yeah, I know.
There's no reason to suspect a large amount of his teammates aren't giving sizable chunks of their wages to charity every month as well. It's been pretty clear from his agent, has been very good at getting it out there, that he is making these donations, which is brilliant. But every single business around the world is going to be taking a massive hit because of this, including Arsenal. So therefore, I would expect that pretty much every club is going to have to take a pay cut. This is the start of it. I think Sheffield United players have deferred wages, and perhaps some of it is to how they get the money back. That, again, if things do bounce back in a year's time and Arsenal somehow go on a run we haven't seen over the last decade and win the Premier League, do the players get their money back? You would have to expect that most players are happy with the deal that they have, and that Ozil, he had to be expecting this as well. He had to know that if he wasn't going to sign this, that it would come out. But the fact it happened so quickly just seems that, and again, like, maybe it suits Arsenal to force Mesut Ozil out of the club on that wage.
It's exactly what I'm thinking. Though I just would like to know, on a very straightforward level, Mesut, we need you to take a pay cut. Okay, Grant, what are you using the money for? Did you get a straight answer to that or not? And that's the crucial point. Barcelona, meanwhile, the Nou Camp will be no more for a while.
Yeah, it seems that they have handed over the naming rights for the Nou Camp. Remember, this is a club that up to a decade ago didn't even have a shirt sponsor, but they're going to give the sponsor naming rights to the Nou Camp for the first time and donate all the revenues to fighting coronavirus. So they've handed over the title rights to the Barca Foundation, which is their charitable trust, who will go off and find a sponsor for next year, and all of the money will go towards research against the pandemic. The concern from Barcelona supporters, while obviously you would have to give them credit for putting this out there, and you would expect a huge amount of money will be raised through this, even if it's just for a year. Is it opening the door for naming rights to continue? Is a company going to come in and take the naming rights for 1 year and then move on? Or actually, is it going to be a 1 year deal that's suddenly extended on and on and on and on? Again, considering the economic crisis that this is going to cause, I think every football club that maybe felt they were above selling their naming rights or felt they wouldn't be able to get away with it, and everything we've been hearing, and it's been covered on the show, I know, everything you've been hearing out of Barcelona is that it's a complete mess now behind the scenes, and they're facing huge financial difficulties, that they're just going to have to go down this route. So maybe we should just look at the good in this.
Yeah, okay, well, let's do that for once. 1957, it's been the Camp Nou since. But as you said, they're about $500 million in debt. Their wage bill is close to 75% of turnover, which is not a good situation. And 6 of their directors have resigned in the last few weeks. So it's a complete mess there. Paul McShane, this is kind of a striking story, jumped out. This was a League One match. Sam Finley, not too familiar with Sam, but he was mouthing.
He certainly was mouthing some pretty horrific stuff at Paul McShane as well. I don't think we need to repeat exactly what he said, but it was racist. It was very much focusing on the fact, looking at his Irish background, and he got himself an 8-match suspension. So it's something that's obviously come up quite a while. It wasn't sectarian abuse towards Paul McShane, but it was something that was heard, and the case was decided today in an 8-match suspension, which I think is only right and proper. Obviously, I think by and large, we're past a huge amount of the sort of racism that the Irish community for decades grew up with in England, which is, even when you read it, it was quite surprising to see the sort of
surprise. Like, it's a slur that would be thrown at travellers all the time, basically. And even in the hearing, Sam Finlay kind of said, well, I also told him to get back into his caravan, and then threw the slur at him. And this was just in January gone in a League One match against Paul McShane. So 8-match ban, £850 fine, and he's going to attend an FA education course.
Yeah, the implication, I think, which the player himself admitted, was that by telling him to get back in his caravan, was that all Irish people live in caravans.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Which is which seemed to be the insult. But yeah, no doubt I'm sure Paul McShane is happy it's been dealt with.
Yeah, okay. Listen, good stuff. That is us for this evening. I'll let you get back to that tactics board and you can work out various other formations.
I don't know, is there a better spot for me?
Just if you move it down, move it right down. Yeah, just down on the table there. There you go. There, that's you.
Five-a-side works a lot.
Five-a-side's much better, I think, much cleaner. Listen, thanks a million for that. Good man.
Good luck.